November 2nd, 1963. Exactly 20 days before JFK's assassination. Fidel Castro met face-to-face with America's highest-level diplomat in a secret villa on the outskirts of Havana. On the table lay two unsigned documents. One was a peace treaty between Cuba and America. The other was a secret pact that would guarantee Kennedy's life. When Fidel picked up the pen in his hands, he didn't know that the decision he was about to make would change the fate not only of two countries, but of the entire world. But there was still something he was about to discover. The man sitting across from him was not really who he said he was. Subscribe to the channel to discover unknown secrets about Fidel Castro, and turn on notifications to learn something new every day. Fidel Castro's hands trembled. For the first time in 4 years, he was sitting at a peace table with an American. In the villa's hall there were only two people, Fidel and the mysterious diplomat sitting across from him. "May I know your name?" asked Fidel. The American smiled. "William Morrison. I'm a special representative of President Kennedy. May I see your identification?" Morrison pulled a card from his pocket. Everything was in order. But there was something that didn't sit right with Fidel. There was something familiar in this man's eyes. "President Kennedy wants peace with Cuba," said Morrison. "But this is a very delicate matter. He needs to convince Congress, the CIA, even his own party." Fidel examined the documents on the table. "These conditions are very heavy. Peace has a price, Comandante." He read the first document. Cuba will cancel all military agreements with the Soviet Union. All Soviet personnel will leave the country. In exchange, America will lift the embargo and restore diplomatic relations. The second document was even more surprising. Fidel Castro will cooperate with America on matters of John F. Kennedy's security. He will report in advance any threat against the president. But the most shocking part was, "Why does Kennedy want to cooperate with me for his own security?" asked Fidel. Morrison's face tensed. "Because the threat doesn't come from outside, Comandante. It comes from within." "What do you mean?" "President Kennedy has enemies in his own country. Very powerful enemies. And they don't want him to make peace with you." Fidel was surprised. "The CIA? Much bigger than the CIA. The weapons industry, oil companies, the military complex. They want war, not peace. And Kennedy knows it." Morrison stood up, walked toward the window. "That's why I bring you a proposal. A mutual protection pact." "Mutual protection? You protect Kennedy, he will protect you. Because you're both fighting against the same enemies." Just at this point everything changed. Fidel lit his cigar, breathed deeply. This conversation was becoming very strange. "Senor Morrison, for you to know this much detail is strange. As if you were in Kennedy's very close circle." Morrison turned around. "Because I am in his close circle. But you're not a diplomat, are you?" Morrison remained silent. Fidel continued, "The way you speak, your posture, the answers you give to my questions. You're not a diplomat. You're an intelligence agent. Comandante. And my assumption is that you're not from the CIA either. Because the CIA would want to kill me, not do business with me." Fidel stood up. "So who are you?" Morrison smiled. It was the first time he smiled genuinely. "You are an intelligent man." "Yes, I'm not a diplomat." "Then, FBI. From John Edgar Hoover's special team." Fidel was in shock. FBI. He knew of the rivalry between CIA and FBI. But why would the FBI contact him? Wait a moment, don't miss this detail. "What does the FBI have to do with Cuba?" asked Fidel. Morrison returned to the table, pulled out more documents from his briefcase. "Because, Comandante, the CIA is making plans about you, and these plans are without Kennedy's knowledge." Fidel's blood ran cold. What kind of plans? The real objective of Operation Mongoose wasn't to kill you. It was to kill you and blame Kennedy. That way both you would die and Kennedy would sink into scandal. That's impossible. It's not impossible. And it will happen soon. Morrison handed one of the documents to Fidel. "This is a document leaked from inside the CIA. It's called Operation Victim." Fidel read the document. His heart was racing. The document said, "Objective: neutralize Fidel Castro. Method: assassination, then blame the Kennedy administration. Result: create justification for military intervention in Cuba. Date: November 1963, after Kennedy's trip to Texas." This also points to Kennedy. Yes, because Kennedy wants peace. But they want war. You still haven't seen the biggest surprise. Morrison pulled out another document. "This one is even more important." Fidel read, "Will be executed simultaneously with the Dallas operation. FC will be eliminated in Dallas, JFK in Havana. Same day, same hour. FC is me? Yes. JFK is Kennedy." Fidel's voice had become a whisper. "They're going to kill us the same day. November 22nd, 1963. Kennedy will be in Dallas. You hear? And they'll kill both of you to then blame each other." Fidel collapsed. Who is planning this? Part of the CIA, the military complex, and some politicians. They want war in Cuba, war in Vietnam, war everywhere. Does Kennedy know? He doesn't know. But he suspects. That's why he sent me to you. Morrison leaned forward. Hoover is also worried, because if this plan is executed, there will be civil war in America. Morrison's phone rang. He looked at it. His expression changed. "What happened?" asked Fidel. "Call from Dallas. There's a change in Kennedy's schedule. You won't believe this, but..." Morrison answered the phone. He spoke in English, but Fidel understood. "Yes. When? Are you sure? I understand." He hung up the phone. His face was completely pale. "What happened?" asked Fidel. Kennedy's trip to Dallas was moved up. Instead of November 22nd, it's November 20th. What does this mean? It means they discovered the plan. And they acted. Morrison jumped up. "Comandante, we must leave here immediately." "Why?" "Because if they changed Kennedy's plan, they also changed yours." As if confirming Morrison, sounds of engines began to be heard from outside. "What is that sound?" asked Fidel. Morrison looked through the curtain. "Military vehicles. They're surrounding the villa." Fidel's mind stopped. "CIA. No, worse. The Cuban army. That's impossible. It's my army. Comandante, there are also traitors within you. And tonight they want this to be your last night. What you're seeing now is nothing." The villa's door was forced open. Cuban soldiers entered. The person who followed them left Fidel in shock. "Raúl Castro." "Brother," said Fidel, surprised. "I'm sorry, Fidel," said Raúl, in a cold voice. "But this meeting must not take place. You... How did you find us? I had you followed. For the last 3 months. Raoul signaled his soldiers. "Arrest the American." The soldiers captured Morrison. But Morrison was smiling. "Why are you smiling?" asked Raoul. "Because you fell right into the trap." Fidel understood. "Morrison, you—" "Yes, I really was with the FBI. But I was also a double agent." Morrison looked at Raoul. It was Comandante Fidel Castro who organized this meeting. Raoul was surprised. "What are you saying? 3 months ago, you contacted me. You said, make Fidel meet with America, make a peace offer, then blow him up. That way Fidel would die, America would be blamed, and you would come to power." Fidel turned to his brother. "Raoul, is this true?" Raoul remained silent. Morrison continued. "But there's something you didn't know, Raoul. I'm not a double agent. I'm a triple agent." "What do you mean?" "I work for the FBI, I work for the CIA, and—" he smiled. "I also work for the Soviets. When they thought everything had ended." Morrison pulled a small device from his pocket. "This is a transmitter. Everything we've discussed in the last 2 hours was sent to Moscow." Raoul and Fidel were in shock. "The Soviets now know everything," said Morrison. "Raoul's betrayal plan, the CIA's plan for Kennedy, and Fidel's desire to meet with America." "You used us," said Fidel. "Yes. But I wasn't the only one using. We all used each other." Morrison stood up. The soldiers let him go. Raoul used Fidel. Fidel tried to use America. America is trying to use Cuba. I used everyone. So what will be the result? The result is this. Kennedy will die on November 22nd, because no one can protect him anymore. Fidel will live, because the Soviets protect him. Raoul will act as if nothing happened. Raoul shouted furiously, "Who are you?" Morrison smiled. It was his last smile. "My real name is Viktor Kozlov, director of KGB operations." And he detonated the small bomb he pulled from his pocket. The explosion destroyed part of the villa. Fidel fell to the ground, his ears ringing. Everything was filled with smoke. "Raoul!" he shouted. "I'm here," came Raoul's voice. Wounded but alive. 2 of the soldiers had died. Morrison/Kozlov was no longer there. His body couldn't be found. Fidel tried to stand up. He collected the documents. They were all burning. "Brother," said Raoul, approaching, "I can explain everything." "You'll explain later," said Fidel. "Now we must leave here." But as they left, Fidel saw one last thing. There was an envelope under the table. He opened it. Inside was written a single sentence. "Kennedy will die on November 22nd. You cannot prevent it. VK." Fidel Castro listened to the radio in his office at the Palace of the Revolution. The clock showed 1830. The President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, lost his life today in an attack in Dallas. Fidel turned off the radio. He reread the letter in his hands. Raoul entered the room. "Fidel, did you hear?" "I heard." "Did you know this was going to happen?" Fidel straightened the pencils on his desk. 20 days ago, I met a man. Everything he said turned out to be true. That Soviet agent? I don't know. But I know one thing. This game is bigger than us, Raoul. We're just pawns. So what will we do now? Fidel stood up, looked out the window. We will live. And we will learn. Because this was just the beginning. Fidel Castro never forgot that night. Neither did Morrison/Kozlov. But what he most couldn't forget was Raoul's betrayal. Raoul had explained everything to him. That he thought Fidel was getting too close to America, that he was afraid of losing the Soviets, and that's why he made a plan. But he didn't know that the plan was part of such a big game. "Forgive me," Raoul had said. "I forgive you," Fidel had said. "But I don't forget." And he really didn't forget. After 1964, he never made direct contact with America. Because that night he learned that sometimes meetings for peace are more dangerous than war. In 1975, a letter arrived at Fidel Castro. It had no sender's name. Inside it only said, "Comandante, we met 12 years ago. Everything I told you then turned out to be true. Now I tell you this. A new president will come to America. Ronald Reagan. He will not fight with you, he will fight with the Soviets. Prepare yourself." An old friend. Fidel burned the letter. But Reagan really did become president. And the final stage of the Cold War began. The night of November 2, 1963, perhaps the most mysterious meeting in history took place. Fidel Castro wanted to make peace with America. But the man he found turned out to be neither American, nor diplomat, nor friend. That night Fidel learned that in the game of great powers, everyone uses everyone. And sometimes a peace offer is more dangerous than a declaration of war.